Welcome back. Already, man? Right at live time? You got to cough in the mic?
Let's go.
I'm just kidding, man. Welcome back to Beat the Count. I'm your host, John Fitzgerald. And today, with me, I think you're a regular now, Gio. Gio Garcia of Against the Ropes podcast.
Sir,
You're promoted. You're a series regular. This is technically like your third time, I think, on the show.
They know me. They know you too,
Yeah,
it works both ways. They know you on Against the Ropes.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate that. You guys are always giving me love. And, of course, Lily Ulloa, who is a content creator. I got it right?
Yes,
you gave me the thumbs up?
Yes.
Content creator for boxing, media, website, Xicana Boxing.
Yes.
Pop in Instagram. How many Instagram followers do you have?
I think like a little over 10K.
A little over 10K?
Yeah.
You guys have to show me how to do the Instagram, right? I still don't quite know how to do it.
Honestly, it's not that hard, but it's also not that engaging. Like, I'd rather do Twitter.
Oh, really?
Boxing Twitter is more lit than like Instagram Twitter.
I haven't even gotten to the Twitter yet.
I know, because
I just called it the Twitter. That's how you know I'm like
Twitter.
I'm a little bit older than you guys.
Because I tweeted it. I'm like, oh, they don't have an Instagram. So I'm like, a Twitter. So I'm like, I'm just gonna put the link because I couldn't even tag you.
You couldn't tag me?
I couldn't tag an non-existent account. Yeah.
I don't have a Twitter yet. I'll figure it out. But thank you guys for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. I'm happy to have you, man. I love to talk boxing. We even got boxing on the TV right now.
I know.
We got the Fox PBC Charlo card going on with no sound, so that means we won't be persuaded.
Yeah.
Or no copyright.
Copyright or listening
persuaded.
to the...
Yeah. That's what people always say. You have to watch it. Did you watch it without sound?
Yeah. Did you watch it in slow motion?
Did you watch it in slow motion?
Did you watch it in infrared? That's the craziest one I heard. Infrared.
Infrared? I didn't even know you could watch it in infrared.
I didn't know that either. People are like, oh, you could tell that one guy hit the most because their like body's red. I'm like,
their body is red.
I'm like, that's just their body warm. I don't know. That was the craziest one I heard.
I didn't watch it in infrared. I have watched a few things in slow motion though. Do you know how when you go on YouTube, you can slow the content down to like 2.5? Yeah.
You can either speed it up or
you can go at like 2.5 times speed or
on YouTube.
Yeah. You can do the playback slow. You can slow down the playback. So I would say the one I used it for most recently was the Tyson Fury knockdown. Because you know how everybody said, oh, the count is long.
It's not long.
It's actually not long. Yeah, if you go to YouTube, you could slow it down to like 2.5 times the speed and watch the clock as it goes.
Yeah, it's not slow.
It's useful
at all.
It's totally useful. Yeah, in fact, I didn't get a chance because we didn't have a show last week. I took a day for Father's Day, believe it or not. But I didn't get a chance to talk about the Tyson Fury fight. Did you guys check that out?
The most recent one, right?
Yeah, the most recent one. Yeah, and so he won by KO. Obviously, was that third round? Second round?
I think it was third, yeah.
Second.
It was second, right? I don't know. It was either second or third.
I believe.
That was fast.
Yeah, no, because he came out left-handed in the second round. So he fought the first round, then came out left-handed in the second round and put the guy away. Tom Schwartz. Tom Schwartz was ranked number 2 by either WBA or the WBO. I don't remember. One of those two. Good move, though. What did you guys think of that performance?
I think he did what he had to do, but at the same time, it was entertaining. I think that's probably the most entertaining fight we've seen Tyson Fury in, besides the Walder one. And even the Walder one was pretty boring up until the that knockdown that he got up from.
Yeah.
But this one was like super.
You thought that one was boring?
Because Fury was outboxing him. He knocked him down, I think, in the, what was it, 7th or 9th?
No, I agree with that. When people are like, it was such a great fight. I'm like,
up until the
8 rounds were kind
of. It wasn't really that great.
It really only takes 4 good rounds to make the fight good.
True. That's true.
Yeah,
because the first round's going to be feeling out, Yeah. No, but I thought he looked phenomenal. He looked fantastic. Right?
I think he looked amazing. I love a phone booth type of fight like any other dude. But I also enjoy that boxing that he has. I just don't like people are like, oh, he's like Ali. That shit was pissing me off. Can I cuss? Sorry. That was pissing me off a little bit.
It's okay. You can curse.
Yeah, that was the only part that I'm like, okay, settle down now. But because I love seeing the head movement. I love seeing him basically toy around with him. But and then the knockout, I thought that was pretty cool.
I mean, I think when people say that he reminds them of Ali, I think they're just referring to his elusiveness, his defensive capability, the head movement, and in particular how light he is on his feet. So it's not necessarily that they're comparing the greatness, I think, of the two fighters so much so as they look at the skill set and they say, hey, there's some similarities there.
Yeah, most heavyweights can't do that.
Exactly.
But this guy is 6'9".
Exactly, right?
It is
impressive. It's impressive.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of the ring walk? Come on, Apollo Creed.
I think it's funny that he went on and that guy died in the movie. Like,
that's what Floyd. That's what Floyd always said.
Like,
I heard Floyd say something once on I think it was like a 24/7 where he was talking about the shorts, the red, white, and blue trunks, and a sparring partner of his was wearing them, and he was like, Apollo Creed died in those trunks.
He's right.
That's true.
The only thing is like that I wonder is because we know that British fans are so loyal. They're probably one of the most passionate boxing fans, and they came all the way over there from over there to Vegas to see, and then he comes out like repping the U.S.
Yeah.
I wonder what their sentiments are on that. Like, I don't think they care, but I was wondering, like, like his guys. I wonder what they think of him coming out like this.
Yeah, I think Gio, you and I, last time you were here, we were talking about one of the things that I wanted to experience was a fight in England.
Yeah.
Or like I want to go to the UK and experience a big heavyweight fight there because I feel like the atmosphere is probably electric.
Insane.
I saw a post on your Instagram recently. Were you at the World Cup? Or where was that? It was like from 2016 or something like that.
It was the Euro Cup in France.
Euro
so
Cup
the
in France?
European tournament in France. That was in Paris, and I was watching Northern Ireland against Germany. That game, the Irish fans are crazy.
So
insane.
The reason that I was wondering. So what does that compare? Like, if you were to think of that atmosphere, that experience. Plus, I know you're also a soccer fan. How does it compare to live boxing events that you've experienced?
Doesn't. It doesn't.
It's just not even the same.
It's not the same. That's probably the greatest experience I'll have at a live event. Period.
Really, the Euro Cup?
That insane. Yeah.
Wow.
It's just crazy.
It's just the engagement of the fans, or
yeah, they play for 90 minutes, right? And these guys are singing on their feet for 90 minutes, regardless. Their team could be losing 3-0, and they're on their feet singing. It's crazy.
So Tyson Fury has some work to do. He's got his work cut out for him.
Hey, but that's how most British fans are, like, or European guys, because when it was Scott Quigg versus Oscar Valdez, it was pouring rain. And it was only me, Cynthia Conti, she was on the last episode of Against the Ropes, and Steve Kim. We were the only ones ringside, even though it was raining for that card. And the Scott Quigg fans were like singing the entire time. Singing that in a Quigley Wonderland. That's what they would.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like,
I had that. I went to Mayweather Hatton.
Oh, so that
Or no, it was Hatton Pacquiao. Pacquiao Hatton. I went to.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah. So
how was that?
Same kind of experience.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. Like I think the fights where predominantly English fans are in the stadium. I've been to a few. But always in the U.S. So, like, I've been to a few Amir Khan fights where it was predominantly English fans. I've been to a few Ricky Hatton fights where it was predominantly English fans. And even Matty Hatton, when he fought Canelo here, like at the Arrowhead Pond, I was at that one. Obviously, it's not predominantly English, but there are good sections of it. It's always an electric environment, man. It's always awesome. Like, that's why I want to experience it there. I think the whole fact that you just have a crowd of people making up songs – for their,
commitment. That's commitment.
Yeah, it's commitment.
You know that Fury's on Fire song that they sing?
Yeah.
That's actually a remix to one of the chants that the Northern Ireland people make for a soccer player. When I heard it, I was like, that's pretty dope. Fury's on Fire.
Yeah. How do you think that performance, naturally, people are going to look at that and say Fury had to do something phenomenal in order to live up to what Deontay Wilder accomplished in his last fight against Dominic Breazeale? You want Fury to come out in his U.S. debut and look impressive, for instance, to stay part of that mix. Did he accomplish that, or are they just completely different?
Different in styles, yeah. And I think for the knowledgeable boxing fan to expect things like that from Fury, who is, like you said, more elusive and more... Yeah. He has a boxing style. He doesn't. I mean, he does have more KOs than not KOs, but I think we expect him more to outbox the other guy. Hopefully, it changes with Walder, and they kind of get a little bit more engaged. But I think he did. Did he accomplish that? Hell yeah! And I think that's why they got Tom Schwartz. Not to diss him, but I think they knew that he was going to be a guy that was just going to stay in front of him. And with Tyson Fury style, I think that was the guy tailor-made for Tyson Fury to both get the knockout and make him look like dumb, basically.
I had always thought that Tom Schwartz was like a play at getting to be the number 1 ranked seed by one of the sanctioning bodies, so that you become the mandatory contender for a title that is around, at the time, Anthony Joshua's waist, but now Andy Ruiz's waist.
Yeah.
Right. I think that, it's interesting. You were doing a live Instagram where you were talking about boxing the other day, and I had asked a question, and I'll ask you too, Gio. So Andy Ruiz, obviously, he's from this area. We're familiar with him. It was an exciting fight. I can say with honesty, I was rooting for him. I wanted for him to win, right? Even though I didn't think necessarily that he would. I was rooting for him. I wanted for him to win. Now that he's won, is that good for the boxing business, or is it bad for boxing as a business? I think it's easy to make a case that it's good for fans, but is it bad for business? Because you hear a lot of guys, like, for instance, your Stephen A. Smiths or your Brendan Schaubs coming out and saying things like, we were robbed of an experience with 2 undefeated heavyweight titleists who were going to get to come together from separate nations and create an undisputed champion, and now we're not going to get that, or when we do get it, it's no longer as big. So is the business impacted by Andy Ruiz winning the heavyweight title?
I don't think so.
No?
I don't think so, because Pacquiao got knocked out, and he still got that big fight against Mayweather, and it still broke records, and people are still going to pay for Anthony Joshua against Wilder. So in a way, yes, but I don't think so overall. People forget. People have short-term memory.
Boxing fans have the shortest-term memory. They're like Dory. Like, all boxing fans, like, as long as you look good in your next fight, I think they basically forget. But yeah, you did ask that in my letter.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think I said it there too. I think the reason why a lot of people think that is because they glorify undefeated records.
Yep.
Like,
Sure.
suppose the Mayweather era, we glorify. Well, I don't want to include myself, but most
Including
boxing
promoters.
fans, including promoters, they glorify those undefeated records. I think still styles make fights. Of course, Joshua is losing to someone that's fast and throws sharp combinations and has some waist movement that is Ruiz, but Walder doesn't have waist movement. Walder doesn't have he doesn't throw combinations.
Yeah.
What Walder, we fear from him, is that windmill that people like to call, but that it gets you. So I think still it should be an amazing fight regardless of if Joshua lost. I think if Joshua were to come back, and then even if he loses a second fight to Ruiz, if he comes back and fights Wilder and he beats him, that'd be the best comeback. Right? That'd be the best person to come back to. Now, I'm pretty sure Wilder stands still want to see Wilder beat the shit out of Joshua regardless.
Sure. Yeah.
So I feel like, it takes away from that like, once, gotta go. But I think it should I don't think it should be bad. Is it? Probably, because everybody, like they said, they were marinating the fight. But it's not like they shouldn't be mad at Andy, because it's not like that fight was going to happen anytime soon. Because he had already announced that he was going to fight Ortiz and he was going to fight Fury after. So that fight wasn't going to happen soon to begin with. So that fight can still happen in that timeline, whether they're undefeated or not, either of them.
What would you say to boxing fans who look at this as an example, particularly fans of Deontay Wilder, and say, see, I told you, he couldn't do it. He never would have stood a chance against Deontay Wilder, because you see a lot of that. What do you think, Gio?
I don't think they're real boxing fans. We've seen that many times. Styles make fights, like Billy said, so I don't think that's an accurate statement. I told you this guy beat this guy, so this guy would be that guy.
Comparables.
That doesn't apply.
Work. That doesn't apply in boxing.
Comparables don't apply in boxing?
They really don't.
You'll see people use it all the time. So,
For
instance, Deontay Wilder, his victory over Dominic Breazeale obviously was more impactful than was Anthony Joshua's, or more vicious, I should say. And I think it's easy for people to look at that and go, see, this is what Deontay Wilder did.
Couldn't do that.
Joshua wasn't able to do that. But to your point, they're different styles of fighter, although both very strong. I think Anthony Joshua was thought of as more of a pure boxer, but maybe not so much anymore. I don't know.
And especially because he has an Olympic background, so you expect them to not go for the kill right away. But
Deontay Wilder has an Olympic background, though.
I like Deontay Wilder. He said something at that Fury Wilder press conference. He said something that it really stuck to me, and I was like, damn, he's right. He said that everybody criticizes him on his style. Like even other heavyweights, other boxers, they criticize that he has no fundamentals, that
everybody says he can't box.
That he can't box, that he has no footwork. He's like, but I've never needed it. He's like, Fury had to be good that whole fight. He had to fight basically a perfect fight not to get knocked out by me. Meanwhile, all I have to do is throw this, and if it lands, that's it.
Yeah.
He's like, and these people that are criticizing me, the other heavyweights, they don't get in the ring with me. So what is the problem? Like, why are they criticizing my style, but they still don't fight me? And I'm like, damn, you're right, Deontay. Like, that's true.
He says some things about that make sense. Like, for
Sometimes,
instance,
Some things that make sense. Some things that make sense.
Yeah, it's true. Because if you think about it, the point that he'll make about, hey, I went from not being a boxer at all to being an Olympian who bronze medaled in like less than 3 years. You know what I mean?
Or 4
too,
years
right?
Or something. That's Joshua
like,
too.
Yeah, like that is quite an accomplishment.
Yeah.
Like,
It
you
really
can't take
is.
away from him. But I think there's a lot of people like Triple G, for instance, built a reputation as a big knockout artist, you know, and people will say, oh, he's not a great boxer, he's just a knockout artist.
But he is, though.
But he's an accomplished amateur, right? Like, he's like has a tremendous pedigree as a boxer, and he won far more than he lost. I think he lost like 4 times
But
as
I
an
think
amateur.
Triple G is a really good boxer. I think
excellent.
because people are used to the knockouts, and that's what is highlighted out of him. But he has an amazing jab. Triple G has an amazing jab. He cuts off the ring really well. So, I mean, what else do they want? Like, I guess they want someone elusive and to move their head. I get it.
That's what I was going to say.
I get it. Move your head and being elusive.
You can hit Triple G clean.
Yeah.
Whether
but
people
he
say
doesn't care.
he's allowing you to, or whether he just doesn't have a head movement, but it happens. He can't get hit clean. But I think that's why people say it.
That he can, yeah.
There's an ongoing debate on this show about the power of the jab. So, or how effective is
Paulie
a jab?
Malignaggi.
Yeah, or how much is a jab worth compared to other shots, for instance?
It's a punch, right?
And there's been conversations where I've gone back and forth with other members of the panel, co-hosts, things like that, about can a jab win a fight? And I think last night is an interesting example because Paulie Malignaggi, for those of you who aren't aware, fought a bare knuckle boxing fight.
Bare knuckle.
A bare knuckle boxing fight.
Some brutal shit right there.
Which they are, of course. And he basically turned it into a contest of his jab versus the effectiveness of Lobov. Did I say that right? Is it Lobov?
I don't know. Who cares?
Forgive me, guys. You know I'm not an MMA guy, so I don't exactly follow it. So I'm going to start by asking you guys, did you watch the fight?
Yes.
Okay, and what was your opinion of the fight? Who do you think won? Because it was a very close unanimous decision loss for Paulie Malignaggi.
Yeah. Do you want to start?
I think Paulie won. Like you said, the jab basically. But wait, don't me yet. I think Paulie won because of his jab. You know, his jab maintained his distance. At one point, he was like slapping away.
He was,
the other guys' the MMA guys' punches. I didn't see a sense of urgency on the MMA guy to hurt Paulie. But at the end of the day, I don't know how this is judged. I don't know what the judges are looking for. So in my opinion, I thought Paulie won clearly. But again, I don't know. I'm new to the sport. What should I judge it on? Because I was just as surprised as Paulie was. Like at the end.
Gio, what do you think?
I thought it was a close fight.
Okay.
I thought it could have gone either way, but Paulie's jab took control of the fight, really, especially in the first 2 rounds. Lobov couldn't get to him. He was trying to get on the inside clearly, and he was switching from southpaw to orthodox and back and forth, and he looked frustrated in the first 2 rounds. At the end, I think it was like round 4, maybe 5 too. Lobov made it closer, but I liked the way that Paulie boxed in this bare knuckle fight. It's bare knuckle.
And he's old. Yeah. Like, he's not old, but boxing.
He's 38.
Old.
That's old for boxing.
I think he was fatigued because a lot of times when Lobov would just touch him, he would kind of stumble back, even though it wasn't landing flush. And Paulie said he didn't land a flush shot on me the whole fight.
No, he did at the end, right? The last round, he had a little bit more.
He really had. Well, I'm going to put a couple disclaimers out there as well. This is my first experience ever watching a bare knuckle fight.
No, actually it isn't. I watched Lobov's last fight.
Oh, did you?
It was brutal.
All I saw was the aftermath of that fight and how it impacted the faces of those two individuals.
All I saw too.
And that was enough for me to, I don't really want to see anyone hurt. I'm a huge boxing fan, but I don't wish long-term impact on anyone, right? And I think that some things about boxing are a little bit too brutal, and they should probably show up more frequently in bare knuckle, right? Like, I have a hard time with huge gashes and stuff like that. Like, I don't want to see somebody really experience, like, what was it, Pacquiao Margarito, where you're like,
his
eye is like, like, please just stop, like we don't need to continue
Literally,
to see.
please stop.
Yeah, please just stop the fight. We don't need to see.
I think at one point even Pacquiao just looked at him like,
yeah, he did. He did. Actually.
Yeah, exactly.
He looked at the ref like.
So this was my first ever experience watching a bare knuckle match, and even then, I paid for it. I streamed it through Fight, and I only watched the last one.
You're a good man.
I know. Yeah, I don't pirate things.
I mean, neither did I. I don't pirate things at all.
I don't pirate things. So I paid for it, but I really only watched Paulie's fight. I didn't watch the rest of the show, So I'll put that out there. The other thing I will say is that I have no idea how the criteria are similar or different than boxing, nor do I really understand how the rules differ. I know they are different because they talked about clinches and some of the things that you're allowed to do in bare knuckle boxing around clinching, like holding the head and doing the uppercuts and stuff like that.
That's allowed?
That is allowed, yeah.
I didn't know that. See, I probably should have looked it up at least a little bit, done a little bit of research. Because I did saw the previous fight that one, they were like against the ropes and they were like clinching. And I'm like, why are they like letting them do it?
But yeah, this is the drinking game against the ropes.
Oh.
Yeah, take a shot.
Yeah, and you got to take a shot now. But like, yeah, because that's legal. Like you're allowed to hold someone and kind of bang on them, hold with one hand in a clinch. So I don't really know what the rules are. I know that they use a 10-point must system. So I know effectively they're using, the same scoring methodology as boxing, but I don't know that they use the same criteria. Okay? What I will say is if that was a boxing match, Paulie Malignaggi won last night.
True.
and I think that I looked at it and thought the first 2 rounds, Lobov could not even find Paulie Malignaggi. He simply couldn't find him. He was nowhere to be hit at all. He was swinging wildly, was missing wildly.
His range was not
there at all. And I think that there was a very evident skills gap between the two of them. And it came out very prominently in the first 2 rounds where you look at it and you go, okay, clearly there's a discrepancy in terms of their boxing capability.
And that's why I think Paulie decided to fight in this bare knuckle boxing or fighting, whatever they call it.
A super clear discrepancy. And I also think that when you look at the fact that Paulie Malignaggi really landed one clean right hand the whole night. He really wasn't even using his right hand, right? Like, so he was basically just using the jab for the better part of 5 rounds. He
said he broke his right hand,
and I believe it because he broke his right hand a lot in boxing with the gloves and all that kind of stuff. So I totally believe that he broke his right hand. So you're fighting a guy who's only using his left hand, and he's basically controlling the distance. He's not running the way that people thought. Like Lobov, I guess, beforehand had said, my only concern is that he'll run all around and win a decision. But he wasn't running. He was just boxing. He was boxing. He was using the jab, controlling the distance. It was all jabs and check hooks. And at the end of the day, whether you think Paulie had power or not, I mean, he did beat him up a little bit. You know what I mean? Yeah. He had moments of success as well. Lobov, had the clinch where he gave him the uppercut that you were talking about earlier. Got the cut over his, and you could give him that round. You could probably even give him one of the last rounds because it's close as well.
Yeah.
But Paulie pretty much controlled the majority of the pacing and the action, in my opinion.
He controlled the pace of the entire fight, and I think that's what is also clear when you're trying to see who won a fight. Who fought whose fight, and effectively.
Absolutely. Like, I would say that if you look at Lobov's last fight, and I didn't watch it, but it sounds like you guys...
This is brutal.
Yeah, you guys watched it. It's considered one of the greatest fights in bare knuckle boxing history, which is like the six shows now, right? Yeah. Modern. That's what they kept saying, right? Modern bare knuckle boxing history, which I assume means there are 6 shows. But you look at that fight last night and you go, okay, whose fight were they fighting? Was that the fight that Paulie wanted to fight, or was it the fight that Lobov? It's clearly the fight that Paulie wanted to. He turned it into a jabbing contest. Yeah. They put a jabbing contest on pay-per-view for $40. Yeah, exactly.
He didn't get dropped. I think most of us expected maybe get dropped, or I was worried like he's going to get severely hurt here. Because we knew, like you said, he doesn't have a lot of strength behind his punches. He doesn't have pop in his punches. So that was my concern.
But it's bare knuckle. I don't even think that matters. Why. I don't think that matters.
But people on Twitter it was very divided. It was either, I want the boxing guy to beat the MMA guy, or it was, I hope Paulie gets his face broken. And I'm like, whoa, like it's intense that people are expecting this. And Paulie didn't make it happen. Like, he completely avoided that.
And that's another disclaimer I'll put out there. To be perfectly honest, I'm not an unbiased authority here. Like, I wanted Paulie to win because of right. Like, so as I give this opinion and I say, it was a close fight, but I think Paulie win, I really objectively have to say I can understand it going either way because it was only a 1-round difference. And I'm judging, but also knowing that inside, I want Paulie to win because I want boxing to stand out as like a superior.
Now, do you think these guys were the best example for that? Let's say, I mean, not that a lot of boxers have the interest to do that cross, between combat sports, but do you think there's any, I mean, to us, it was obvious, but do you think to the MMA fans, I don't think they see it like that, especially because it's Paulie,
The opponent from Lobov's last fight got in the ring afterwards. And gave an interview. That's what. Yeah, I guess they were the two that fought last time.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I didn't recognize him last time with all the cuts.
Another bare knuckle fighter got in the ring afterwards, and he's like, "See, we proved it. Paulie's soft."
Oh yeah,
that's kind of like. Really, is that what you proved?
Yeah, that's what I was. And I'm like, what does this prove? Like How does this prove that exactly? Like,
he
got no hurt. Like, he didn't get hurt. But again, I don't know how this works. So I'm just like, okay.
But I did see some tweets from you. Was it you that was saying that it was like boring of a joke of a fight?
The fight was boring to me, yes, because what we expected was like, look, I think what messed us up is the trash talking leading up to, but I think we should learn by now, especially with the Mayweather-McGregor fight. It's like the whole buildup is a trash talk, and then you see them and you're like, it's just like, again, it's just
Deontay,
the
Wilder,
fight that
Dominic
the boxer
Brazil,
wants to
Paulie
fight.
Malignaggi, Adrian Broner.
Yeah. No, but I mean in the mixing that we saw with these two fights, it's the boxer fights. We see that's the fight that is happening in the ring. It's the boxer's fight. So I'm like, why did I even buy into like the trash talk? Paulie like spit on this guy. He was telling him, "I'm gonna knock you out." Slapped him.
He did slap him.
He bitch slapped him. So I'm like, I was expecting. I don't know why. Maybe again we buy into this shit, but I was like,
He bought into it for sure.
Was that
he bought it?
So
of course, because I can't not, right? I can't not do it. I have a boxing podcast and stuff like that. Who am I?
True that.
I gotta watch it.
Will I watch bare knuckle boxing again? No.
It depends on who's in it.
If it's crossover,
If you told me Roy Jones Jr. was going to fight some bare knuckle boxing fight next month, you better believe I'll put my $40 out again.
Yeah,
I will, dude.
But I didn't like those comments though.
No, but I mean, like at the end they were like, "Oh, this is, like historical." I'm like, if that's historical, I think I'll stay.
Paulie Malignaggi. If he boxed tomorrow, nobody would care. Paulie.
That's harsh, man.
Oh, this is the truth, Paulie.
Unless if he did Broner
I like
again.
Paulie.
Harsh, bro.
If he fought Broner again,
there's all kinds of people I'd watch him fight.
No, but look, I didn't like those comments that, it was a bum ass fight. It was a joke. This shit was boring. Like, I can understand in the entertainment aspect, but these guys are fighting bare knuckles. Like, come on, that shit is brutal.
But I think because people were comparing it to the previous.
They're comparing it to other bare knuckle fights.
Like literally
instead
the
of
fights.
Those are crazy.
Like there was like 5 fights that were literally like the first round the guy was like on the floor. So I think people were comparing it to that.
Yeah.
Julio Mendoza jumped on. He said the fight was garbage. It's the truth.
It's the truth, man. I want to see you fight in the ring. Bare knuckles.
Hey, bare knuckle right here in the bag.
That shit is not easy.
You
know what? That's true. But at the same token, like a baseball game can be boring, but that doesn't mean we can all play pro baseball. You know what I mean? Like there are things that you could watch it and go, oh, that one was boring.
But people can hop in the ring and get punched with bare knuckles. Yeah, that's possible.
And that's the easiest. Yeah, that's the most.
Oh man!
I just didn't. I thought it was a bit disrespectful, man, because that sport is pretty brutal. Anytime you get hit, you're gonna get a cut.
Yeah.
So
I think that's even in the sport of boxing, though. A lot of fights get criticism for being boring, where there's a lot of sort of technical aspects going on, more so than slugfest or wars, right?
Yeah. But that's the thing, though, because in this sport, it's supposed to be more brutal, right? It's supposed to be like UFC, especially because it's bare knuckles. So I think people, that's the sport that if you want to see like people, like you said, blood gushing, cut open, that's what you watch. You don't watch it to see Paulie win by
Gavin.
He lost, but he lost. You don't watch bare knuckle boxing to watch decisions, I think.
Oh man.
Yeah. I'm probably not watching again. I'll be
depending
honest.
on who's
like
in
he
it.
Said,
right?
Depends.
Yeah, if there are people who would get, I have to think would get you to watch it again.
Adrian Broner hops in, I'll be like, all right, I'm watching.
Yeah, exactly, right. There's all kinds of people.
He should shit with his boxing career where it's going. He might
Adrian
as well
Broner
do
would
it.
school some bare knuckle boxing. Dude.
He would, especially yes, he would. He really would.
He would. Don't you
And he
so?
doesn't need to let his hands go because look at Paulie.
Yeah.
Let me pull
Yeah,
up
That's the other thing. Like, these guys are not going to throw 100 punches, dude, because it's so easy to break your knuckles, break your fingers, break your wrist when you're punching somebody without protection, right?
Oh, yeah,
I think that's one thing that people don't realize. They're punching somebody's skull with their knuckles.
Yeah, that's
Right.
a little bit crazy.
No, Dougie, he said, I think it would continue to attract attention if they get recognizable names from boxing and MMA to participate. He put, I want Antonio Margarito versus Ricardo Mayorga. I'm like,
No
bro,
reps.
I would freaking love to see it. Like, I'm like, see, that's a genius idea.
There's a number of reasons
like,
why I wouldn't want to
notable
watch
names.
Margarito do that.
No, but I would. I'm like,
Yeah.
see, that's true. Get names that are going to attract both audiences.
What's up, Big Surge? Big Surge Estrada, cut man. What's going on? He's been on the show before. Were you at Fantasy Springs this week, Surge? Did you guys watch the fights at Fantasy Springs?
Oh yeah, I regret not going.
Alberto Machado. Man, I posted on Facebook. My post was Andrew Cancio stuck the landing, and what I really mean by that is I think he was kind of. There's probably a lot of assumption that he's perhaps on borrowed time, similar to like Andy Ruiz, right?
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh, that was just an accident, right?
He got lucky.
Yeah, or he got lucky, or whatever the case was.
They always say, to be less disrespectful in their way, they say, oh, the champion wasn't having a good night. Because that's what they say. You know, it wasn't their night.
Nice.
Like, they will never really accept, like, they never really want to give credit where it's due. It's usually, he didn't have a good night, or he got lucky. It's never really that, though.
I think in some ways, Andy Ruiz, for instance, is still in this situation where he's going to struggle to have people recognize him as an authority in the division unless he wins again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So people will look at it in the same way and go, yeah, he's the champion, but really he's just, like on borrowed time.
Yeah, and it's more
on
pressure,
borrowed time.
too. Like, he needs to win again to keep the Mexican fans, because, the Mexican fans will drop you. Look at what happened. Like, a lot of people are talking shit to Mikey after the Spence fight. Not just that, but he has to, in a way, do better. And how does he do better?
Yeah.
But so that people are like, but see, AJ, if AJ even puts up a better fight, if it goes a distance, people are still going to have, like, the negative comments. Because boxing fans are
they'll
never
always
happy.
have negative comments.
Boxing fans are never happy.
But
there's still a lot of pressure, yeah.
I think Cancio was going through some of that as well, in the sense where it's almost like, oh yeah, you that belt is on borrowed time. You know what I mean? You're not really a true. That was a fluke kind of thing. But he came in last Friday and he stuck the landing. Right? That's exactly what he did. He went in, he did it, and it was every bit as impressive, if not more impressive, this time around than it was the last time.
I think it said a lot too because there was another body shot.
Yeah.
So you could tell right there that Machado, if he was preparing, he didn't prepare for those exact body shots.
Yeah.
So even, I feel like Machado in a way even believed himself that it was a fluke.
Yeah.
That he's better.
Absolutely.
And even though the weight was an issue, like he was struggling to make weight, that. But I think in a way he felt that way too. Like, it's cool. Like, I'm going to get my belt back. Because to lose the same way that you lost the first fight,
Yeah.
to me that tells me that you didn't prepare for the exact way that you lost.
Yeah. Big Surge just said the same thing. He said it's not luck at all. It was the same punch. And it was absolutely the same punch. But I think some of the mystery around it was, if you remember last time, Alberto Machado had a short camp. Right, so I think his camp was shortened by 2 weeks. He arrived at the arena late, was getting his hands wrapped. There was all this stuff going on that made you think, oh, his head's not in it. Like, he's not here. He's distracted, right? And so there was some doubt about whether or not, he wasn't in true form. He was distracted. He wasn't, going through. But I think Cancio stepped up and erased all that doubt last night, or Friday night, I should say.
Yeah.
So Big Surge said he was cornering Erin McKenna. Nice.
Oh, Erin McKenna is a really nice. He has some crazy body shots too. That kid, Jesus. When you sit ringside at Fantasy, especially Fantasy Springs, that it's very intimate. Even though it's like a nice little place, not like small like the Avalon or the Velasco.
Yeah.
You can hear those kids' shots like thunder through the fucking arena. It's crazy. That little kid he should be coming up well too, with those body shots. Those are crazy.
Did you guys watch the undercard fights at all?
Yeah, it's like all of Puerto Rico took an L except that...
All of Puerto Rico
No,
took
except
an
that
L.
one... There was one kid, no. one of them.
Luis Feliciano.
He's
been on the show actually.
He won, right?
He was on the show with the big Surge. You remember that, Surge?
He won, and he's from Puerto Rico, right?
Yeah, he's from Puerto Rico.
Yeah, there you go. He's the only one that won.
Yeah.
What did you think of the Acosta stoppage?
Okay.
To me, I'm confused. I feel like he's a champ. He deserves that count, you know?
And he was up. I know you posted the scorecards, right?
Yeah, he was up widely.
Well, I'll let Gio go first. What did you think of the stoppage?
I never like to see a stoppage, honestly, by the ref.
On
I know it may sound brutal, but
too.
I'd rather have them go down.
It does seem brutal.
It did seem like he was out of it because he took a big punch and he didn't put his hands down, but he was kind of disoriented for a little bit. But, man, it's tough. I think it's tough as a ref because you probably know this guy's winning, but you also want to protect him. So yeah, it's tough.
See, the thing is, the challenge that I always have with these things is, in retrospect, it's very simple to criticize because we're not the ones who are in the ring experiencing it in the moment. I'm not looking in the eyes of Tito Acosta as he's going through this. You know what I mean? So my perspective on it is going to be very different than the referee. So I want to give the referee the benefit of the doubt more often than not. That being said, it was a bad stoppage. In retrospect, I can look at it now. Yeah. I can look at it in retrospect and say, hey, not in the moment. If you go back and look at the tape, I think that the referee will look at it and realize, like, oh, I messed up, right? I messed up for a number of reasons. One is because those guys were trading hard shots
the whole fight. And you may say, well, that's a good reason to stop it because they were trading hard shots the whole fight. Mm-hmm. But I think in this instance, a champion who is in a very competitive fight, who takes a hard shot but has been able to continue on and has experienced a lot of success, won most of the rounds in this case, he just jumped in so quickly. He didn't give him a chance to go down. He actually didn't even really give him a chance to defend himself after he was hurt, right? So he was hurt, he's going back to the ropes, and it wasn't like let's see if he can... He wasn't like wobbling.
It's like, let's see if he can defend himself intelligently here, or let's see if he's going to return fire. And so my impression immediately was bad call. That was just a bad call. He's the world champion, right?
But like you said, for me, I thought basically the protocol was to watch if they're hurt, to see if they're wobbled, or to see if they go down, or to see if they punch back. Because most of the time they stop it because they're not throwing anything back. But he looked pretty game to me that whole round. I think what's also controversial is that it's the last round.
It's the last round.
The last
There's
round.
A minute left. Yeah. It's a title fight.
Like if you let it go another, even 10 seconds just to see again if he's going to throw something back or if he's just going to be wobbled and taking it against the ropes, then you stop it. But he didn't even give him that time.
Yeah, Surge jumped on, and I agree with you, Surge. He said the ref saw something that we didn't see in the fighter's eyes, and it's his job to protect the fighter, and I completely agree. And that's why I'm not overly critical of instances like this. And it's also like, if you think back to like Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, I said, 9 out of 10 refs that weren't Jack Ruiz might have waved that the second
immediately.
Right? They wouldn't have counted, right? They would have maybe gotten to 3 and said, I waved it off. And the truth is, you wouldn't really... If he had stopped it, if Jack Ruiz had stopped it, you couldn't really blame him. Yeah. You couldn't blame him if he had stopped it, but he didn't. And in retrospect, when you look back at it, you go, that was the right call. Yeah. He made the right call. He did the right thing, right? But had he stopped it in the moment, you can't blame him. You can't blame him. So I think it's easy for us to criticize.
Cancio and Machado too, right? He got up at 9.5, but he just kind of waved it off.
But I think that was because he was very... He wasn't enthusiastic. He didn't say okay, no, I'm up. Don't worry, I'm up.
Yeah, but see, I like to see the ref count to 10. Why not? He gave Fury a chance.
Sometimes it's not warranted, I would say.
I think because,
for
you
fighters'
said,
health
they're
reasons.
in the ring and they can sense the energy. To me, Machado already looked defeated. He was literally waited to down and then he got up. Yeah. He wasn't enthusiastic about getting up.
If you remember the round prior to that, I felt walking back to his corner, he was on shaky legs a little bit. So Cancio had applied a lot of pressure and all that, and the round prior, Machado was walking back to his corner, it was a little bit shaky. So I don't disagree with you, Serge, and I know that every intention that they have is to protect the fighters, but I also know that sometimes they get it wrong. And I think this happens to be one of those times where I can look at it and go, I think you got it wrong.
You could have let that go.
I always like to ask people what they thought about that Chavez against Meldrick Taylor.
Oh, that's
What do you guys think about that one?
I
can't call it.
I thought it was the right call.
It's hard. Like
he didn't respond. He didn't respond.
They're not all
he
easy.
Looked away.
Yeah, that's the thing. He asked them.
Yeah, twice.
And he's just like, kind of like Joshua.
They could have stopped it in the third round.
They're like, do you want to continue?
That ref was counting to 25.
He's literally like,
not just that. They told him to step forward, and he didn't.
He didn't step forward. Like, you're not listening. Are you like already fucked up that you can't hear me?
Yeah.
Is your head like? What? Why not?
I thought the second he didn't obey the command, the ref would have been within his power to stop it.
Like, okay,
people would have complained.
I thought I freaked out at that moment because I thought they were doing the same thing they did with like Walder and Ortiz. Because you know how the ref made him go to the corner and like all this.
Oh my god.
That's what I'm like. Oh my god, is he doing that? Like when he like put Joshua to the side on the corner too. I was like, oh no. I'm like, they're doing the same thing, but he just waved it off. I'm like, okay. I was like, all right. And I was scared that was going to be controversial. I'm like, I wonder how people are going to react to the ref waving it off.
There's a couple times where you mentioned being at Fantasy Springs and the venue and the experience, or you talked about being with Steve Kim ringside while it's raining. How long have you been a media member to that extent, going to fights, sitting ringside, creating original content and doing things like that?
Just a year. Like, I got into it. I was doing stuff, just visiting the gyms, kind of like a fan. But just because I met people at the fights, and they were doing media stuff, and I'm like, oh, I want to come, and they were like, okay, and we just go to the gyms, right? And then it just got to a point where my friends like, do you want to write for the boxing website? And the boxing website was True Boxing Heads, and I was like, okay, yeah, I want to. And then the first one I did through them was Scott Quigg versus Valdez. Yeah, so that was
Great
my
fight.
First media ever. Like that's the first thing I ever covered, but. To me, it was just, I wanted more. I wanted to do more stuff. It was a little bit inconsistent sometimes. So I was like, no, I want to do more. So I'm like, I'll start my own. And I'm like, I'm going to just do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like visiting gyms. It's really, you learn a lot.
I mean, one of the challenges I have with the media aspect, or even with the show, for instance, maybe you guys have an opinion on how to handle this, is particularly like with the media and the questions and all those different things. Sometimes it can get repetitive or redundant. And if you go from one channel to the next, you'll see a lot of the same kind of thing, right? And in all fairness, people could say the same thing about podcasts. You might say, hey, you guys, we are talking about the same thing on my podcast that we are on yours, Lily, or on yours, Gio. So, like, what kind of challenges do you face in that area, or what do you have to do to make it unique and different?
With me, personally, I don't record the group stuff other than on my phone just to get quotes.
Okay.
If I'm writing an article, then I feel like, well, I'm taking this angle on this article, so I'm going to include this quote. But I don't record it and upload it because, like you said, everybody is recording that. I try to ask questions that I like to do my research, I guess, and especially because I know like if I know a boxer specifically a little bit more, I like to ask questions from different angles too that I know. I'm not gonna like, hey, how was your training camp, or how is like you said, it's repetitive stuff.
Yeah, it gets repetitive.
Or what's gonna be your strategy for this type of stuff? That's our good questions, but it's not something that they haven't been asked. And like, I don't know. Oh no, you didn't go to the Lomachenko one. The boxers themselves get annoyed as fuck. Like you can tell they're like, oh my god, like this question
I honestly
again.
don't like that type of stuff. I don't like going to the gyms and interviewing people. It's not
for that
thing.
reason, or just
that's one of the reasons. But I don't know. I'd rather just talk to them. Like I've talked to boxers and I don't put the camera in their face.
Yeah,
I just go
off
up
the
to
record,
them, say what's up. But
well, that's to me.
They all ask the same questions.
It's the opposite for me. I like going to the gym so I can ask them more questions that are just chilling. Like it's not, they're not annoyed about the same questions. They're not annoyed about the media. So I still attend to these media workouts, but I like going to the gyms and asking, hey, can I get an interview? Most of the time they'll say yes, unless they're super busy, they'll leave. But you get more time to ask better questions to, assess what you want to ask. You can ask some shit about that day, that's sparring that day. That's what you ask. Then if you're at a media place, everybody's asking the same thing, or you have questions ready and then you hear them asking the same thing and you're like, god damn, what am I gonna ask now? So it's to me, I like that better, going to the gym and asking them there in their own element than in some other gym they don't really usually are at most of the time.
So you do all sorts of boxing media, like you have YouTube content, you have Instagram, it sounds like you write articles, things like that. So and podcasting, a lot of different things. what do you think is your favorite thing to do so far? Have you found a passion for any one individual, or do you like them all?
It's writing. I love writing. My goal is to write for hopefully one day ESPN or Ring or a really nice sports publication. But I also do interviews. So I like to do interviews like that too. But most of it is writing. I know it's not a thing anymore that people are like, let me wake up and go check what happened when they could literally just watch a video where they're going to tell you.
YouTube. I'm lazy. I'm not going to lie. I'm lazy.
You're not going to read an interview.
Exactly. So that's why, even though that's my favorite thing to do, I don't prioritize that and I don't invest my entire time on that or making long articles because people want to watch the video. Yeah. So what I do is that's why I have different mediums. I'll put, this is kind of a summary, and then here's a video. So here's the interview, here's what happened, and mostly video and pictures because people are lazy and they don't want to read, and I get it because I'm lazy and I don't want to read. So, I know my audience. So, but it's definitely writing. If I can make a living off of that, that'd be great. I
was on a podcast recently, How We Talk. Shout out to How We Talk. And one of the things they asked me is, what's the end game? What's the goal for you? And that was actually a more challenging question than you might imagine. So if I were to say, Gio, what's the end game? What's the goal with the podcast? What would you say to that?
I'm just having fun with it. I'm not even looking at it like that. You can plan things out, but it's probably never going to go as planned. So I'm just having fun with it. If you don't enjoy it, then why are you doing it?
You're an agent of chaos, huh?
And they enjoy it, trust me. No, but it's. I agree with that too. A lot of people ask me the same thing. Like, you're not even a big channel like the other ones, or you just started. My YouTube is like less than a year old, right? I have like 1,000 subscribers only. But people are like, oh, why do you do it? And I'm like, you know what? Same thing as Gio. At the end of the day, I can go take a 9-to-5 job copywriting or like writing anything. But these experiences, who the fuck is gonna take that away from me? Who the fuck is going to take it away from me that I was there, interviewing Manny Pacquiao at this point? Like, that's my big, I'm like, oh my God, I talked to Manny Pacquiao. That's the thing. Who's going to take that away from me? Who's going to take me going to gyms, watching sick ass sparring that other people have never seen? Other people are not even aware that these guys are sparring each other. Who's going to take that away from you?
Yeah. I think in some aspect, all of boxing, the entire industry is really made up of people who have to have an appreciation for boxing.
Oh, they have to, of course.
So you kind of have to be a fan of boxing to be in boxing media or to be in really any portion of this industry that relates to it. Whether it comes down to like manufacturing gear or whatever it is your role is in this, you're probably a fan of boxing if you do it. And so in some ways, I also think it makes the industry a little bit disorganized.
Yeah.
Because it's not like, I don't mean to offend anybody who's watching it, but it's not necessarily that all of boxing is run by like the leading professionals that you can find.
Yeah. You were talking about writing. Industry. A lot of these articles that I'd see online of boxing, they're terrible.
Trust me, terrible.
Terrible. It makes me want to write. I think I'm pretty good at writing. I'm like, I could do way better than this person.
No, trust me. I've seen it. Especially like the other ones, the like Bleacher, I'm not gonna say. There's a lot that are.
You already said it, so.
But more than that one. There's so many that you read them and you're like, there's run-on sentences.
Yes,
it's not AP style.
It's basic stuff. You're a writer, right? Isn't that your profession?
I'm not gonna hate too much for a reason. One is because they're fans of, like I said, it's made up of people like me. You know what I mean? The industry is made up of people like me and you.
Doesn't Word autocorrect it for you? I'm just saying.
They don't care. They'll just publish.
Sure, I got you.
But you're right. It's and at first it would piss me off, but then I took that same take that he's taking. That these are all fans and they're doing it to enjoy it, and they're being successful at it. So why am I gonna hate on them being successful, even though it's not up to par with what writing should be?
Yeah, a big executive. If he was offered a big role in the MLB and is coming from a completely different industry and wasn't the biggest baseball fan, he'd probably still have to consider it. Yeah. I just don't feel like those things come up a lot in boxing.
How would you answer that question?
What's that?
What's the end goal? Or
well, if you watch How We Talk podcast. No, I'm just kidding. I did answer it.
Link in the description.
Yeah, I'll put the link in the description for you guys.
See, I gotcha.
What is my end game? I don't really have one. And I think it goes back to what my motivation is for doing this and for starting the podcast. And I won't get into it in detail. If you guys really want to know, you can head over and watch the How We Talk episode. But, I do this because I'm passionate about it. I do this show because I pay money to sit here and talk to people about boxing. It's not like I don't make anything from the show. And that's okay. You know what I mean? And I think really for any podcast, because another thing people ask me all the time is like, I'm thinking about starting a podcast. I don't know if you guys get that a lot, but
all the time.
Do you really? Yeah,
we're inspiring people. I see y'all.
People come up to me. I wouldn't say that I'm inspiring people, but
I would.
They're like, I'm thinking about starting a podcast. Yeah. Well, like, would you talk about this subject for free for like 4 hours a week? You know what I mean?
And that's the thing.
If you wouldn't do it for free, hey yo, if you wouldn't do it for free, it's not for you. Trust me, it's not for you. If you
anybody can come up here and talk for an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's fun.
The hard work is behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But that's what I was telling
you. All this up. All the stuff you guys don't even see it. All the stuff you guys don't even see takes hours.
But that's what I was telling Christian when we started the podcast. Like, dude, we talk about boxing for hours, like after every fight, before, after, and during the fight. So, I mean, why not start it up? And then people started watching it, so we're just like, whatever. I have fun with it, so.
Yeah, so I mean,
I don't mean to sound like I'm not ambitious, but
no, but
it's fun.
It's
just fun for me.
And we, for the last Against the Ropes podcast with Cynthia, she said it too. She's like, oh, you know, people are like, what made you start your own? Because she works for Ring, but she's starting her own YouTube as well. And she's like, I just do it. Like, I enjoy it, so I'm gonna do it. She's like, I tell people that too when they come up to me like, oh, I want to start a YouTube channel. Just do it, because you spend more time thinking about it. Like, a lot of people told me
spend more time watching other podcasts.
And people are like, why don't you make your own like stuff? And I'm like, oh no, same thing. I'm like, I'm not a professional. I don't want to. And now I'm like, why didn't I do this sooner? Like, I've only done this a year, and it's okay. Like, it's not. I'm not like up there, but I'm like, I have like a following. I'm like, cool.
10,000 on Instagram.
I should have done. I should have done it sooner. You know.
Flex on them.
So I took that from Cynthia when I was watching her say that. I'm like, yeah, she's right. Like, she's totally right.
Yeah, you guys actually very recently, Cynthia Conti, Alfonso Gomez, you've been getting a lot more guests.
Anthony
Sims Jr. as an example. What's that process like for you guys?
I don't do any of it.
Is it all Christian who does it?
Yeah, Instagram. Or sometimes they ask to be on, and we're like, cool, come through.
Isn't that the most interesting thing when someone asks to be on your show?
Yeah.
The first time someone asked me to come on here, I was like, whoa.
One person said, I'm not going to say any names, but they're like, what are the prerequisites to be on your show? And we're just like, dude, just come through.
Be able to find it in the school.
Do you have transportation? Just come.
Can you make it at this date and time?
Uber?
Yeah, and then.
No, I think the hardest part is finding it. Finding it
it is hard. Studio. It's hard to find the place where you guys are. If you didn't walk me up to it, I would not have found it, I think.
Yeah, and then they always tell us after we're done, like, this is fun. And we're just like, yeah, it's chill. Like, it's not as serious as some other, obviously, like ESPN or other platforms, right, where they have to be so professional and can't curse and things like that.
You could curse. Yeah.
That's the first thing I think I asked them, too. I'm like, can I curse? Because it just comes out.
So as we have this conversation, Guillermo Rigondeaux is on Fox PBC, making his ring return. I think
he had fought in the undercard of Buscate.
Yeah, that's true. He
Microsoft
did. He did. Yeah, that was in January.
He got
right?
like a second round knockout or something like that.
January, he got a second round knockout.
Like, this got no promotion. Rigo gets no love anymore. And to me, that's insane.
This is what I was going to ask. So
Olympic gold medalist
in the press conference or in the media workout, I should say, in the public workout. Someone asked him more or less about this, and his response was, I'm still the best in the world at 122. Like, I haven't gone anywhere, right? Like, he more or less said, they could take my belts, but I'm still the best in this division. I've never lost at 122.
Did anybody
do you think he has a claim to the number one?
He lost the belt even though he wasn't fighting at that weight? I thought that was bullshit, first of all, but sorry.
So who do we have at 122? What are the other names?
Danny Roman, TJ Delhaney,
what's the tall guy?
Navarrete,
Vargas is going to
fight
in 2 weeks.
Those are the champions. So Danny Roman is the unified champion, and then Navarrete is the one who beat Dogbe twice, and then Vargas.
So skill-wise, I think it's hard not to put Rigondeaux top 2 in any list, right? Skill-wise, but I think his age might be a factor.
Do you guys buy into this age thing with Luis Ortiz? The fact that people say he's like 50 years old?
Yeah.
It's possible. No, it's possible.
No, because
a lot of soccer players have been caught doing that.
A lot of athletes from Cuba, period.
10 years?
They can just, and it's not a bad thing because when you think about it, it's like this guy is, like you said, older than 40, but he's still kicking ass and he's pretty good. And I just love Ortiz because he has that power of the heavyweights and he has a Cuban style of boxing. Like,
he
it's
can
the
box.
two things merged.
You know,
that's a running joke on our show. Like when they say Luis Ortiz, his age, I'm like allegedly every single time.
Oh, yeah,
So,
you always say that.
I don't disagree. And if I found out Luis Ortiz was several years older than he was said to be, that's fine. But 50, I'm kind of like,
no, not 50.
No,
that's the number that goes around.
Oh,
Everybody says he's 50 years old.
No,
yeah, okay. When you said that, I thought you were just like implying that
No.
he's
Like if you said he's 43 or something,
no.
right? But the idea that he's actually 50, the issue I take with it is where was he? Like he showed up for the first time at the world level, at the international level, like in the early 2000s, like 2002. Like where was he for 10 years of being a dominant, an amateur?
I think that's more of a political thing.
Yeah,
there's
like
videos.
videos.
That's Cuba.
There's videos of him where he's clearly looks to be a man in or around his 20s, like competing at the world level, winning championships, and he was on the team with Guillermo Rigondeaux and a number of the Arislandi Lara and all these other guys. So like I feel like every time someone says that, I'm like, how do you think he just appeared out of nowhere? Where did 10 years of his life go?
No, well, not
10.
50.
Not 10. Not 10.
People say he's 50. I'll pull it up right now. Robert Byrd on the mic today on PBC.
No, but a lot of these guys don't even know the real age, honestly. They don't have like a real birth certificate. So a lot of times they're guessing. I know people like that.
Sure. I could see that. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't be surprised if you told me he was a little bit.
I think he's older than what he says, but I don't think
50.
he's 50.
Not 50.
If he's 50.
I think people just say that to exaggerate and imply that he's older.
I just had to give a wow to Rigondeaux's like 15 straight uppercuts right there. Did you see that? That was not bad.
He still looks pretty young, Rigondeaux.
Yeah, Rigo,
Well, his opponents, I don't know.
Stop.
Is he going to be a world titleist again? That's the question.
I think he can do it.
He has the stuff to do it.
I think he can do it.
Yeah.
He should be. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's going to be a mandatory clash at one point.
Low blow. Allegedly.
An alleged low blow. Oh, my goodness. What else? Are there any upcoming fights you guys are looking very much forward to?
Well, obviously the Pacquiao-Thurman one. You guys, we asked each other for our predictions before the show, right?
Yeah, what is it?
And I don't have one yet.
Not
Tune
yet,
into Against the Ropes. I'll say it soon.
And you'll say it soon? You're going to save that? An exclusive for your show?
Yeah. I don't know.
These are the things that you literally have to, like, with yourself, like, fight. Like, that's what I did. I think the most I did that with was Canelo Triple G. I'd be, like, constantly debating with myself, like, no, but then they have this. Oh, no, but then this will do this. And then and you're just there for, like, ever. Until like the last moment, you're like, okay, then I'm picking this person.
Yeah, I can make a case for either guy.
You know what I find personally is a lot of times I'll say things like, I don't know, I just want to see a good fight, right? I want to see a good action fight.
I don't like that answer.
So I say that all the time.
That's
and
what
people
most
go,
say.
who do you want to win? I don't know. I just want to see a good fight. I don't really have a you know, like.
You don't want like
and
judges.
And then as soon as the fight starts, it's clear that I want someone to win.
Yep.
But like, it's not that it's like a subconscious thing. But like as soon as the fight starts, all of a sudden I'm rooting for one guy when he's experiencing success.
I think we're gonna root for Pacquiao, right?
Me? No, I'll probably end up rooting for Keith Thurman.
Really? Huh? Oh, because you're a Marquez fan.
I'm big. Yeah, Marquez was where it was at for me for a very long time.
Yeah,
so
you know, like we're Mexican and we are big boxing fans, but I remember we're still very much Pacquiao fans, right? So I remember when that knockout happened, it was literally silence. We're just like, oh my God.
The Pacquiao knockout?
Yeah, with Marquez. We love Marquez. He's probably my favorite boxer.
Your house is
time.
very different than mine.
But we were both like Mexican. We were just like so shocked.
It was not silent.
So shocked. No, but at first, but we were rooting after like a minute, but then we felt bad because, you know, Pacquiao wasn't getting up, Jim. Like, we were literally freaking out after, like Jinky. She fucking freaked out. That was us after a while. So it went from silence for like 30 seconds to, like, finally he doesn't get robbed.
I think I literally went and jumped on someone's back, and he started piggybacking me around the room and stuff like that.
So you're a real Marquez fan.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's like my favorite fighter of all time.
Yeah, like he's up there for me. I love watching Juan Manuel Marquez.
Him
and it's not because I'm not sitting here saying that I think Juan Manuel Marquez is the end all be all. Like if you said who's the best boxer, or who's
they're
the
totally
GOAT,
different things.
I wouldn't necessarily put Marquez at the top.
They're totally
but for me,
things,
in terms of a cross between the skill set that he offers, the entertainment value in every fight that he is in, Juan Manuel Marquez is just where it's at.
It's him and Barrera for me.
Yeah, I can see that
and
too.
Morales. Both
I didn't
of
like
them.
Barrera for some reason. I think it was because I like El Terrible a little more.
I think I didn't like Barrera up until the Morales thing kind of like.
But when he beat Nassim Hamed,
because I like Morales way more than I like Barrera.
Yeah.
But I do like Barrera. But I didn't like him until they were friends. You know, I think I didn't appreciate him until that beef was over.
Yeah.
I didn't appreciate Barrera until that beef was over. But
do you ever have a hard time not cheering in the media section?
Oh my God, yes, dude, hell yeah! And I think that's the hardest part ever, especially when there's knockdowns.
Yeah,
we're just like nice, but like internally screaming, especially for the Fury one.
Yeah,
we were literally like off. Luckily for that one, because it's such a huge fight, we were ringside. We were up there somewhere.
Up there, so
the only ones that are ringside in that part is the broadcast people, the TV people. But we were up there losing our mind, but because we could, no one was up there watching us. But we were all losing our shit.
Yeah.
But if had that been ringside, we probably would all got in trouble.
I think there's some things that are just natural reactions, necessarily not cheering, but like you watch, sometimes I'll be sitting in the media section and someone takes a shot and they go down, and your natural reaction is just like, like, wow, what a shot, right? Like,
and we got to catch ourselves doing that too when we're doing the ringside commentary. You can't just like, ooh, oh my God, right?
Some people do.
Well, look at
people do
the
do
guy
that.
from Showtime with the fear, Mamma Mia! Didn't he say like Mamma Mia? Or
he
something
does,
like
yeah. I actually think that whole piece of commentary of when Deontay Wilder actually floors Tyson Fury in the 12th round, that whole piece of commentary is so intriguing to watch now that you understand what is going to happen, because Mauro Ranallo's reaction is Mamma Mia. Over. He says Deontay Wilder has done it.
Yeah.
And then Paulie Malignaggi's reaction, his response is he's getting up. Like but with a question mark on the end of it. He's like wait a minute, he's getting up. Like, it's very, very funny to watch in retrospect.
No, and I actually like Spanish commentary. I watch everything in Spanish because it's much better. I like the enthusiasm. I know we have to be professional, but when you listen to someone with such enthusiasm, you know that they're loving it, and they transfer that to you even more. Yeah. Like when Chavez Sr. does commentating for ESPN. That's just great. Like, I love hearing that.
Everybody says Jesse's great.
Everybody
says Jesse's great.
And I love how in Spanish and English, Jesse is amazing commentating.
I didn't expect that in Spanish.
Dude. Yeah. That's the thing. Like, I felt like, damn, I was born in Mexico, and I can't translate those words the way that he does them, and he uses the big Spanish words, not the regular words. So I'm like, he uses the big Spanish words. Like, he is translating for that to be so fast in his head. That's unnatural. Like, I legitimately enjoy the hell out of his commentary.
I'm listening to Jesse Vargas. Yeah, man.
Both in English and in Spanish.
Yeah, everybody says he's great to listen to in Spanish.
In English too.
Yeah, I don't have I've only heard him do the Fantasy Springs Golden Boy ones, but I know he does a lot of like the DAZN type commentary in Spanish.
He did the Fantasy
I think because it's Golden Boy. He did on Friday.
Oh, okay,
yeah, this last Friday he did. Yeah. In fact, the first time he was going to appear here, he had just done a show the day before and got stuck in India.
The rain.
Yeah. That was one thing I did notice about Jesse Vargas when he was here, is he's like that all the time. That's my impression. Like, when he's on the camera and stuff, he's on. You know, and he's able to tell you the fight dates. He's able to tell you all that stuff. Like, he's got it down. Yeah, exactly. He has it.
It's
like he's got
embedded in him.
It's almost like how I imagine, like, if you're in a Marvel movie and they just give you bullet points of what you can say when you go on the talk shows, but in a very polished way. I mean that in a very positive way. Yeah. So Jesse, if you're watching, I mean that in a very good way.
So how does that work for you as well? Let me ask you.
What's that?
Your guest, like, you have to reach out to them, right?
Yeah, it's a combination of a lot of different things. So I will reach out to people mostly on Instagram or Facebook Messenger or something like that. There are people who reach out to me, normally over Instagram, to ask to come on the show. My co-host, Anthony Saldana, who's the lead writer for Supreme Boxing, sometimes he'll have people and ask to bring them in. Another co-host, the owner of this gym, Sweet Science Boxing in Hawthorne, California. Yeah. Shout out to Sweet Science, Marco Trejo. He may have a lead on a guest who might be interested in coming on. So they've come through all different channels, and what I found is guests sometimes I think will get other guests to come on. So after they're here, they'll say, hey, like my friend wants to come on or this person wants to come on. I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? So I think it's one of the things I'm like most proud of is that people are like they're
you're a thing now, man.
No, not that I'm a thing. I'm definitely not a thing.
No, you are though.
No, I don't think so. But
you are, right?
You are.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But what I mean is that people have shown a willingness to come back. So I feel like at least, there's some kind of like I didn't scare you guys away. You didn't come here and go, wow, this like sucks. Like Gio,
there's no AC in that room.
Yeah, there's not an AC in here, and still you're here for a second time. So I feel like we're doing okay in some respects because people are willing to join again. Yeah.
Now, was that like your plan when you started the podcast to bring in guests? Because I did go back and watch all your old stuff.
Oh no!
I remember
you
told me. You told me to. It was your fault.
Did you
I was
really?
not gonna do it.
I did.
You had guests right in your second show, I believe.
Yeah, on our second show we did. I tell people that all the time because I assume nobody's actually going to do that. Who's going to go back and watch episodes?
I'd be bored sometimes.
I do that. No,
did you see what our first episode looked like?
Oh
my god!
And plus,
she's laughing. Look,
and
someone off camera laughing at.
I edit my podcast, so I had to look at things not to do. So
oh my god, Gio, you're so fucking rude.
That's harsh. Harsh. I'm live, man. But
could have told him that off camera.
Yeah, I know.
No,
there's some what not to do's for sure if you go back to some of the original episodes. But we've been fortunate with guests for a very long time. I've had a lot of guests who I'm surprised anyone shows up. To be honest, you guys show up and I'm like, they're here. Thank God. Thank God. But yeah, so we've had guests. I think that show you're talking about, the second show, we actually had DJ Walton, who is vice president of USA Boxing, and he since has been in like Creed 2. You'll see him. Nice. He's Adonis' sparring partner when they go out to the desert to train for the rematch with Victor Drago. You know what I'm talking about? And his son, Javon Wana Walton, who's like sponsored by Under Armour, he's in all these commercials now. And he was like literally went on to Steve Harvey the next day. He came here and talked to us, and then the next day they were on Steve Harvey.
You're opening doors for people.
Yeah, I highly doubt I did that. Oh man, I can't believe you went back and watched those, dude.
Hey man, you told me to.
But it's not like a I don't think you should not expect your people that watch it to go back and see the other ones, because again, you have guests.
That's true. We do have guests.
People want to see them, and then people want to see, even if a fight already passed, you still want to see what you thought of it or what they thought of it. Yeah. Like all the podcasts that I listen to as well, I do not like far back, but I do go back and see if I let me see what they thought about this fight, and they have. Yeah. I do listen to older stuff. Because, like I said, a fight, like we discuss older fights too here.
Yeah, that's true.
So we do want to see.
I'll discuss any fight you want.
Yeah, like we discuss. Yeah, name a fight. I'll talk about it. That's the thing. That's what's cool about these podcasts. That it's not like you have to in a certain row. You kind of.
But I think in a way we're also kind of limited because we talk about mostly fights that just happened, right? And I think a lot of people say, "Oh, we don't want to go back and watch what they said about."
A fight a year ago, for instance.
But like a lot of podcasts, they just talk about regular stuff, right? So you can listen to those anytime.
That's true.
Right. That's so true. Like sometimes I'm like, I don't think people are even like watching my old stuff, like Against the Ropes. But I don't know. That's just me.
Now I have to make a commitment to go back and watch all of the old episodes.
Nitpick their podcast.
Yeah, it's probably terrible.
It's hard to nitpick your guys' podcast. It looks all clean and stuff. It's like,
thank you.
It's edited. You're actually in a studio. You know what I mean?
Hey, the being in the gym is pretty cool.
I like this. I like this better, actually. It's cool.
It seems like it sets the atmosphere.
It's because I gave you a gift basket.
And a shirt.
And a shirt.
This cool shirt. Right. I want to be rocking this, yo.
Oh, man. What do you guys think before we sign off? Do you want to give any shout-outs? Where can we follow you? Where can we find you? You have all the social platforms. Where should we go?
You can go first.
You want to go first, Gio?
The short list.
The short list?
At Against the Ropes, against TA Ropes on MySpace.
Especially MySpace.
You know what? I'm going to give
Facebook,
you one
Twitter.
tip. One tip. Just stop putting the MySpace out there.
No, they're listening. They're like MySpace.
When they told me that they made a MySpace, I was literally like, "No, they're kidding." And then I heard them in the podcast say MySpace. I'm like, "Oh my god, they weren't kidding."
No.
And I think I commented on the "You guys actually did make a MySpace."
I commented too. I was like, "You guys have a MySpace?"
Hey, we're talking about it, right? Look at this. They're gonna go check it out.
MySpace,
MySpace is an
YouTube,
abandoned
Instagram,
thing.
right?
Yeah, on
Do you guys have a
YouTube.
Twitter?
Yeah.
See,
At
I
Against
don't
the
know.
Ropes, the same. YouTube, Against the Ropes podcast. I think that's pretty much it. I don't know.
The only reason I don't know if you have a Twitter is because I don't have a Twitter.
We just started
We
one.
just made
We
one.
just
I
made
just
one,
made one,
actually.
yeah.
And
Okay.
I've never used Twitter before, so I'm learning it.
Yeah. Lily?
Yeah, my favorite one is Twitter, but I don't have like an account for like Xicana Boxing. It's just me,
Okay.
and it's Lily, but with 2 Y's. It's complicated. It's Lily 2 Y's, and then Kins 2 S's. So that's it. But Xicana.boxing on Instagram. I post like
10K followers.
Yeah, I post most. I try
Fire.
to post more like of my interviews or my content because I don't diss people that post like just repetitive stuff because it works for them.
Yeah.
But I
Who
try.
repost, you mean?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
they
yeah.
don't have the same picture.
It's not
they don't
original
have the same.
content, yeah.
I try to post a lot of original content.
Yeah.
And my website, XicanaBoxing.com. I'm working right now on a Pacquiao versus Thurman little. It's not like a
Fight prediction?
preview, but it is a mixture of both of those things. I'm
Yeah.
working on that. That's definitely the best place to go. Or YouTube Xicana Boxing, where you're gonna find all of my interviews with. My favorite one is like the Mikey Garcia one. It's a little bit old, like you said, go back, but that one's really cool. I do have Victor Ortiz on there too. I have
Legend.
Keith Thurman, and I have an interview with Manny Pacquiao. So if you guys go to Xicana Boxing on YouTube, you can definitely check that out.
Speaking of which, isn't Mikey Garcia like fighting?
Yeah, today.
Right now?
Eric Morales.
Eric
Right
Morales
now.
right now, or
I'm
earlier.
surprised you're not there,
Earlier
Lily.
this afternoon.
I'm surprised you didn't go.
I didn't go because I have my kids, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to take them.
Because I didn't want to. That's a good reason.
It's-
I didn't go because
it's the
I didn't want to.
drive. It's the drive. They're like, I can't drive with them for that long. I'm like, especially in the traffic. But yeah, I wish I could. I regret not going, and I regret not going to Fridays fights, because that's the same thing. I'm like, I'm not gonna go. Like, I'm just gonna stay low. I saw the fights on TV. I'm like, I'm an idiot. Like, I should have gone, but.
All right. And of course, you can follow me at Beat the Count on Instagram, at Beat the Count on Facebook. I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for coming down and chatting with me today.
You're
Oh,
very
thank you.
welcome. I had a
Make
lot
sure
of
to check
fun.
out our last episode with you two. That was
Oh,
very
yeah,
good.
that was-
You
that
guys
was
were great
fun.
on that. It was
oh
fun.
my
It
god,
was
yeah,
fun.
that was probably the most fun podcast I've ever done.
It was after the Canelo Jacobs fight.
Oh,
so
that's right.
That was,
That's right.
that was
That's
great.
a lot
Good.
of
Thank
arguing,
you guys for coming.
a lot of fun
Our
stuff.
Yeah, of course. I'd be happy to do another one, actually. I'll just put that out there. No, I'm just kidding.
Let me write it
Gotta
down. dude.
DM him.
Yeah,
DM him
I know.
first.
Thanks a
Talk
lot,
to
guys.
Christian.
I appreciate it. Peace.
Peace.